All right. Happy Sunday, everyone. Hope you all are having a good day. I'm here in my house. It's a lovely, overcast kind of Sunday in beautiful New England. Um, Today, we're going to be working on some videos that have to do with my personal approach. So, I want to be really careful here because approaches are very personal. I recently posted video of Mike Lickstein, who is a very, very, very well-known bowler up in the Massachusetts area, probably the most successful bowler out of the area. Currently owns a pro shop, I believe, in Vermont or something like that. But nonetheless, Mike has one of the most outrageous approaches in all of the history of bowling. It's really fun to look him up. He's been kind of doing these interesting shots in the 90s and everything. But I wanted to get into mine, and I more wanted to get into mine because of the whole aspect of how you can lose yourself in your approach. And I think there's something really great about that, and I think that's what makes bowling very meditative and very special. And I noticed that with bowlers that tend to get frustrated and very, they lose themselves while they're on the lanes. One of the reasons why is because they kind of forget to fall into this process orientation, right? These are two well-known psychological concepts of process orientation versus outcome orientation. And I think Maslow, who maybe you learned in school, Maslow's hierarchy of needs. There's also this other concept called internal locus of control versus external locus of control. And an external locus of control is like what you don't actually have control over. It's external to yourself versus an internal locus of control. And when you are capable of flipping your mind into this internal locus of control and really focusing on what you can control, it's been shown through and through to make you happier and make you feel better and make you more capable of getting the things that you want in life, because you're not so focused on what you can't control, and instead you spend your energy and your focus on what you can control. So when it comes to an approach, there's really like a lot of little things in bowling, right? Bowling's this weird sport of timing that that has to do with 5 or 4 or 3 steps and what happens between those moments. But to me, I think that the bowling process starts even before that. And so I always say that I start thinking about my approach the second I stand up. If I'm sitting down, I usually tend to sit in chairs next to the approach. The second I stand up, I'm trying to approach things in the same way. So I'm going to show 3 different angles of my approach. They weren't the same shots. I don't have 3 cameras to set up yet on a single approach. But nonetheless, like we can go through these 3 shots. I think I'm consistent enough that they'll kind of show the same stuff. So first of all, just my mindset before I get to a shot. I will look at the part of the approach where the dots are 0 through I think it goes up to 40. So 0 to 40. I'll look to where I'm gonna put my foot before I even get up, and I get really locked in. I don't know if anyone notices it while I'm bowling on my teams or whatever, but if I'm having to wait for the person next to me to have a shot, my eyes are locked on where my foot is going to be. So that's how early I'm trying to get my mind locked into what's going on. So so this shot is from behind, and I wanted to kind of like have my balls within this shot. I use specs for these, and actually it's really funny. When I was doing these videos, I in practice I was about to throw like a 290 something. And I really didn't care. I was just filming this. I was just filming the videos. It was really hilarious. Like, people were kind of giving me attention. I'm just like, leave me alone. I want to record these process shots. So anyways, so right there, the first thing I make sure of is I use my towel in my throwing hand to pick my ball up. That's because I'm trying to avoid getting any excess oil on my fingers, any dirt or anything like that that may be on the ball, so that I don't affect my throw, my grip, or anything like that. Again, this is something I don't think a lot of people pay attention to. I also don't put my fingers in the ball. That was kind of an early piece of advice that I got from watching videos while I was getting back into things. I don't put my fingers in the ball to pick the ball up. It kind of can put strain on your fingers. So instead, I wait to put my fingers in while I'm getting my feet set and everything like that. So just again, this is how consciously early I'm trying to really get focused in on my shot. Pick up the ball. I clean off my track. Basically, I just sort of wipe down my track to get any oil off of that area. Just, not too much till it feels right. I also sometimes do this thing, and I know I'm really locked in because I don't always do this, but I will kind of finish cleaning my ball off. I'll tuck my towel very carefully into my back pocket. Again, that's another thing I want to make sure it gets in there so it doesn't fall in. Again, just paying really close attention to it. This is like something that I really want to impart in my own lessons. Like if there's anything I can get out there that comes specifically from me and that you're not going to get anywhere else, like paying attention and mindfulness practice, right? This is like Buddhist stuff. Mindfulness practice. Being mindful means putting your mental attention in a specific place. So while I'm tucking my towel away, I make sure I'm paying total attention to tucking the towel away. I know it sounds so like, who cares? But I'm trying to avoid overthinking and thinking too much about what's happening. Instead, I want to get lost in the moments. Because if not, it's like this concept of practice, right? Practice is a meditation practice, practicing anything. Whatever you practice, you're going to do. So if in each of these steps, I practice mindfulness, I practice paying very close attention, then it'll make it so that when I'm at the line to do the shot, let's say I'm at 290, I'm on my last shot in a perfect game. If I have these, these steps in place, then like it really comes into play when it matters because you're within the practice of it, if that makes sense. Okay. So tuck my towel away, be really careful about that. Slide my feet up, right? So I've been looking at my mark. I know exactly where I'm going to put my feet. It's really easy to lose track of where you're putting your feet, especially if lanes are kind of being weird. Sometimes I have a notepad with me. I'll write down where my feet were for the last shot, because between two shots on the same lane, it may be 20 minutes, depending how many other bowlers you have. So there's that. So I have my feet turned out. That's to have an open body stance. That's if I kind of go left of about the 22 board. So if I'm left of 22, I'm going to open my feet up more so that I can kind of aim my shoulders at my target, right? Because I don't want to be throwing my arm out in a different way to get it further out. I want to keep throwing straight. And so if I'm going to keep throwing straight and square, I'm going to be square to my target, which is down lane. Usually, I like my break point about 8, the 8 board, the 7 board. So, throwing from my feet being, in this example, kind of across, I'd say 26, 27 there. So I want to throw down to 8. So I really have to have my shoulders turned in that right direction. So see, I'm getting set up there again. Get myself settled. Just sort of get myself in place, let everything settle down. I take a really deep breath, I let it out, and then I do my movement. So letting it out, moving forward, want to make sure I have a good first step. And I now do a step for my first step as opposed to a slide step. I was doing a slide step a little bit, but I felt like it wasn't, like it was being a little inconsistent. It would grab, in a way that I wasn't always sure of. So I want to make sure I have a good first step there. Now this has been the most important thing is when I start my drop, and I started doing my drop in a very specific way. Let's see if we can capture it. So as soon as I plant my first, start my second, then I start my drop, I do like the littlest push out, which has been really, really helpful. A very, very tiny push out, and then I drop my arm down. I really need to make sure that everything is in line, right? So if it's going down and it's basically right under my shoulder, that's a good sign. So just let it go through, and then at the line, I I'm getting to realize that I don't necessarily like putting the ball down directly on the lane. I could get low if I wanted to, but I don't have quite the quite a good reaction from that on house patterns because it kind of sits in the oil for a little bit too long. So for me, it's good to get it out just a little bit. So that's why I keep it up a little bit. My leg kicks out, keeping my back kick down. That's a really big deal. Has really helped out. Sometimes I've been noticing I've been tending to pick it up lately, which is not something that I want to do. So I really want to keep it down. I keep it down on the lane, the toes down. Maybe I was watching a video the other day and they were kind of making a point about having the back toe down. I think I was watching a Brad and Kyle video, and I think Brad Miller was talking about having his pinky sitting across the lane. So maybe I'm going to start working on that to get a little bit further down. And that's really like mostly what I'm looking for. Eyes down the lane. I think what I have to start working on now, which I haven't been, sometimes I go in and out of it, but it's a little hard to catch it, is watching the ball go through the pins. That's a really good skill to understand like small adjustments you may need to make. I haven't quite been following through with that, so nonetheless, just something I'm trying to get to. But yeah, that's the complete step. Let's take a look from another angle now. This is sort of a 3/4 angle I'm going to show. I don't think it really quite shows the ball as much, so let's kind of watch this one. Oh, fun green thing there. Okay, so again, grabbing my ball, and see, this just goes to show, slide it over with one hand, pick it up with my towel. That motion again, clean the line, tuck my towel away very mindfully, set my feet to be open, doing my step, take that breath, take that extra second to settle down, and then again, just like I said, keeping my foot down a little bit high there, so maybe not exactly how I would want it to go. Something that I would try to be a little bit more careful for. You can see right there my balance is off, and that's why I sort of fell over, because I probably wasn't keeping my weight down, keeping my weight more on my planting leg. And again, it was a strike. I was having a good practice session with this, but again, this is about absorbing information that will pay off down the line and just make you a better bowler. I also try to keep in mind too that, especially with practice, it's good to feel slightly uncomfortable if you're working on things, right? So sometimes I'm very specifically trying to work on something and it won't feel right, and I'll bowl very poorly, but it's okay because this is about your mind absorbing something. And I was giving a lesson, not that I'm like a full coach yet or whatever, but just a friend who asked for my help. I was giving him a lesson, and I made this point, and it's something that I again, like, this is like one of those psychology things that I'd like to get out there. But when it comes to how the brain and the body processes information, sometimes there's this really interesting interaction to something that feels good in coordination with it being right. So, for example, the reason why the human body likes sugar and why we like eating sugar so much and why it tastes good is because sugar does not live next to poison in fruits and plants and stuff like that. So there's this really deep evolutionary thing about eating sugar means that you'll be safe when you're eating something. So your body seeks it out. Same thing is with these studies with like construction, that when you look at a house or something and it looks good, like you just like how it looks, more often than not, these studies have shown that shows that a house is well constructed. And it's because your brain is doing all these weird calculations in the background while you're looking at something, and sure, it comes through you like, oh, this is very pleasant, like what a nice thing to look at, but it's because your brain did all these weird things in the background to let you know, like, oh, hey, this looks good. So, in a certain way, when you're practicing and it doesn't feel good, like, it's okay because you're trying to reset your system, you're trying to retrain yourself. But when you're bowling and when you're getting your shot out there, it's really good to follow your good feelings about a throw. And it feels good to do something a certain way, because even though you may not consciously understand it, like you can like your brain kind of gets what's going on. And the same thing goes for the other side, is if you're bowling and something feels off and it doesn't feel right, even though you're doing well, it's just something to pay attention to, because it's like your brain is trying to tell you that something isn't lining up right, isn't calculating right, even though you may not know what it means. So, all right, so we're gonna do one last video here. It's funny, you can see my good friend Scotty in the background bowling. That was purely by accident. Okay, so let's check out this guy, green screen again. Okay, this is just from the side. I couldn't really capture the bowling balls plus my throw, but I think this was like a fun video shoot from the side there to see this angle and completion. Again, just settled. Something that I worked on and then unworked on, right, going with this feeling thing, is that, and I think you can see it in a few videos ago, I was very upright. I was trying to work on my posture being extremely upright, and that wasn't, and over time that wasn't working right. I wasn't smoothly going into my throw and into my, into my posture. I was more like, it's like I was unlocking my body. You know when you're standing very stiffly with your knees and you have to unlock your knees, so, and it just feels like it's a very like rough happening. So instead I wanted to be a bit more athletic, a bit more, having my knees bent, starting over a little hunched over, and it really helped smooth my throw out by a lot. So again, you can see right there a bit of the carry on after the second step. I have sort of like small steps, it's something I talk about a lot. I really worked on finishing them out, but I think I really have become much happier with it. Here, the foot raised up a little bit again. I'd rather have that keep down, and my slide is actually much further than I normally have it. I have small steps, so I don't have like the biggest slide, but it's something I've been trying to pay attention to. But again, you can see starting on my second step, right after it, is when I'm going to start my drop. That one was even kind of a little bit early if you wanted to really nitpick. So that's one. See, I started a little bit there. So some I probably should pay more attention to is starting my swing when I'm starting my second, as opposed to starting on my first. I don't know. It's kind of in line. That's fine. And see that right there, you can see this mild little forward movement that I have before I'm dropping. So that's been working out a lot lately. And then the little steps. Something I really am trying to work on is like unstuttering. Like I think between the first and the second it's slow, and then they speed up a little bit. Something I've been noticing from Dennis Bissonette, my very good friend, and who probably currently is like the best bowler in the area of New England, or Massachusetts rather. He kind of has these very solid steps. Like he just steps through. It's very consistent. And so that's something I sort of want to get to myself. I probably play with my ball speed a little bit too much, and so it kind of tends to throw things off. But again, that's a different conversation. So yeah, that's my routine. I don't know if anyone else has any other things that they kind of try to do on their step up. Again, I think the most important thing is being mindful and being conscious and getting lost in this part of bowling, and not getting lost in what happens when the pins fall. That's just out of your control, and instead it's really, really good mentally and for your happiness to really appreciate and revel in this very interesting thing that you're doing, and you're doing well and stuff like that. And I would even say that like this will be endlessly rewarding. It will endlessly be rewarding to keep being focused on the feeling of you and your steps, as opposed to getting lost in what your score is. Your score will never satisfy. It will always make you feel upset in one way or another. One saying the Buddha had, which I really love repeating all the time, is the worst form of suffering is happiness. And so going from throwing a very good game to throwing a very bad game can make you feel bad, because you get all caught up and lost in a very good game. So anyways, so yeah, that's kind of all I got on my side. Again, comment or let me know if you have some kind of cool thing you do or something you try to pay attention to. And yeah, I will be talking to you all in the future. Thanks a lot. Have a good Sunday. Take care.